What's going on, everybody? I hope you're doing fantastic as always. Today we are going to start talking about materials. It's a very large, complicated subject, like most things in Unreal Engine. Pretty much each part of this engine, from landscapes to animations, modeling, materials, these are all big enough topics that each person can do them as a full-time job. In fact, multiple people for a game. So we're just touching the surface on materials today. Let's get into it. So you'll see we're in our third-person template project. You can either watch the previous videos to get caught up, or just start here with us. What we're going to do is right-click, hit Material, and we are going to name this our YouTube material. We're going to double click into that. The first thing we're going to want to do in this graph is kind of just establish ourselves here. It's very similar to the blueprint graphs we were looking at for the third person player in the animation blueprint, except for this is a material blueprint. So if we right click, we'll see all of these new options that are related to materials. If you search through here, you'll probably find all kinds of interesting things. But what we're going to focus on for now is just the basic stuff over here, and not even all of this. So what we're going to do first is hold 1 on our keyboard and left click. This is the hotkey to get our constant float value. It's a scalar value. And we are going to plug that in nowhere at the moment, but we'll be using this quite a few times. And we're going to hold 3 on our keyboard and left click again. That's going to bring us our constant RGB value, and we're going to plug that into base color. Now over here, we will see this as an option in our details. And we can either use a color picker wheel, hex, or RGB values to kind of just select a color. So let's select, I don't know, this color. Now that we have a color, let's go ahead and see what that does. You can see we can now use this material, but it looks pretty, I mean, not great. So what we're going to do is go back into the material, and we're just going to drag this on this window, and we're going to go over here to our scalar, and we're going to plug that into metallic. And now you can see it's a little shinier. I think we're going to adjust this color a little bit. Let's go more saturated, kind of like that maybe. And basically when we have 0 set, it's going to be the least metal surface we've ever seen. So let's save again. You can see here it doesn't look very metallic. Now let's go into our material and put this at 100% metallic. Hit save. We can already see the preview difference here a little bit, but let's look at it in game. And let's turn the graphics up a little bit so we can actually see the difference better. You can see that looks more metallic. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. And if we actually hold Control L on our keyboard, we can adjust the lighting with by moving our mouse while holding Control L. So let's get some good lighting on it. Okay, let's go back in here, and we're going to hold 1 on our keyboard and make a couple more of these scalar value constants. And we're going to go into roughness and specular. Now if we hover over it, we can see, actually we're not going to do specular, we'll leave that alone. We'll do, oops, wrong one, roughness, not specular. So to delete a wire, just hold Alt and then left click. Okay, so roughness is pretty much what it sounds like. 0 would be a mirror reflection, as you can see here. So now we have a metal surface, fully metal, that's very polished, is essentially what the result here is. And you can, oops, sorry about that, didn't mean to hit play. And you can see it is a mirror-like surface. Pretty cool. Now let's change that. Actually, let's leave this the way it is. And what we're gonna do here is reset this back to default, which I think is 0.5. Okay, so now that we're at default, we're gonna hit apply and save. We're gonna go back to our third person map, and in our content browser, we're gonna right click and hit create material instance. Now, I kind of explained why we did this in another video, but the reason we're doing this is for multi-purpose. For one, so far we've had to keep going here and then going back into this to see the difference and hitting save and compiling the material each time. Now that only takes a quarter of a second because our material is very small. But if we had a huge complicated material, and they can get that way, this would take a long time and it would be really hard to see our changes in live time. So what we do is we create a child object of this master material. It's a material instance. You can see the difference in the parentheses. For instance, let's go back into our main one real quick. We're gonna right click and select convert to parameter. We're going to call this parameter metallic. We're going to call this one roughness. And we're going to call this one color. We're going to click save. Go back to our third person. And now when we open our YouTube material instance, we have, let's go ahead and drag this not into this window so we can see. We can actually adjust these values in real time and see what they do. So whatever we set up in the master material, we can create copies as children and then easily adjust those children, which is why it's important to always start using instances of blueprints, meshes, materials early on, and important to understand why to do that is it makes your life much easier down the road. Now we have set up an incredibly simple material here. I am no material expert. This is something that you can definitely spend some time with and play around and figure out what you're trying to do. There are free materials released from Unreal we can talk about in more videos, and there are also paid ones that can do all kinds of stuff. Either way is a great way to learn more about how materials work and what they're capable of. For instance, let's take a look at one I have. This is called EP Master Materials. Now it is paid. I believe it's $25. It was free 1 month, so I picked it up when it was free, and unfortunately I've played with it a little bit, but I haven't had a ton of time. But there are a couple things in here that I think show what you can do with materials that would be good to look at. So let's go ahead and check those out real quick. So in our EP Master Materials, we can go into instances, examples, just some of these. Look at this dirt. It's a really nice dirt. And this is all in materials. They're getting the illusion of height from height maps and normal maps. And we haven't talked about those in materials yet, because we were just kind of covering the surface here. There's like their metal with texturization. And the cool thing about these is you can see they are material instances. And look at the amount of options that are pre-configured on these. It's pretty insane. And they can do some really crazy stuff. Like, let's take a look at some of their glass. That looks really nice. Frosted. You can see here they've even managed to do things like this within materials. So it's not just for solid colors. Materials really can get insanely complicated, and we'll be talking about materials as we go when we use them. But I think that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you guys are able to follow along, create your first material, and get an idea of how materials work and how to learn more about them. If you were able to follow along, hopefully I have earned your subscription, like, or comment today. Alternatively, we do have a Patreon if that's more your thing. Either way, I appreciate you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.